Good morning.
Morning, Your Honor.
Morning.
Your Honor, good morning, Your Honor. Can I change my name? I have a name on there from another case.
No,
Good morning, Mr.
That's fine.
Good morning, Mr. White.
how you doing, Nick?
Good morning, Miss Ayers. Good morning, Your Honor. Mitchell.
You put us on now. Okay, this is Silvius versus Silvius, continuation of our evidentiary hearing. And I don't recall where we left off, gentlemen.
Well, I don't think we really left off anywhere. We had recessed this to get records from the child's counselor, Your Honor. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nick.
Yeah, we had taken some testimony, Your Honor, regarding the therapist and whether or not my client was informed of the therapist. And then we recessed to get records from the therapist. And I told the court, I might want to take the deposition of the therapist. And the court said, are you really going to take the deposition of the therapist? And I said, well, it depends if I can read his handwriting. And we can pretty much read mostly his handwriting. So that's where we left off.
So, Mr. White, this is your client's motion.
Yes, Your Honor, we would call my client Kelly Ayers. She's here with me. I think you can see her.
I thought I took some testimony from her the last time, but just to make sure, ma'am, would you raise your right hand, please? You do swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
You can put your hand down, state your full name for the record.
Kelly Annette Ayers.
Go ahead, Mr. White.
Can you hear her okay, Your Honor?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. Kelly, back on August 6th of 2020, you filed an ex parte motion regarding custody. What prompted you to file that?
I received a phone call at 3:51 in the morning from Mitch saying that our daughter should not be around his girlfriend at the time.
Do you remember what date you received that call?
I believe it was on August 3rd.
Before this call at 3:51 a.m., were there anything going on as far as your daughter Kimmy and the custody and the visitation? Was there anything that was pending or going on at that time?
No.
And what was the schedule back that first week of August that you and Mr. Silvius enjoyed? What was the schedule for Kimmy?
It was week on and week off. And on his week, he would drop her off at my house at 6:30 in the morning and then pick her up at 4 to 4:30 in the afternoon, Monday through Friday.
Okay. So do you remember what exactly was said during this telephone call?
The voice recording was that Kimmy is not to be around Jasmine and that she is not in the best interest of her daughter.
So what did you do as a result of, so did you answer that phone call and talk to him, or was this a voice message?
It was a voicemail.
Okay. And based on that voicemail, what did you do then?
I proceeded to text him.
When did you text him?
When I tried to call him back, he did not answer. And then I tried to text him.
And did you get a response at some point?
Yes,
Do you remember when and what the response was?
just that his house was not safe.
Well, what exactly was said?
Kim's best interest is not in her mindset.
So what did you do?
I tried to text and talk to him about letting me have her while he figured out what was going on.
Did Mitchell explain to you what happened that precipitated or made this call happen?
No,
He didn't tell you anything at all.
no.
So what did you do then?
I tried to talk to him and then I said, we'll just talk later because it was a Sunday. So we were going to exchange at my father's house. And then talked to him then, but all he said was they just had an argument,
Who had an argument?
him and Jasmine.
Was there an issue involving Jasmine's son and Kimmy that was
Yes.
described? What was told to you about what happened? And this is Mitch telling you this, right?
Yes.
Okay. What did he tell you?
Well, actually, no, as I told him that there was an issue with Kimmy and Cooper. I witnessed Cooper hitting our daughter.
Well, let me stop you there. This is before he made this call to you?
Yes.
When was that?
That would have been around July 26th.
Okay. So what was the conversation that you had with Mitch about this incident with Jasmine's daughter?
I did not have a conversation with him. That was the first time I met Jasmine. And so I was going to wait until the week after to be able to sit down and talk to him about it.
I'm a little confused. Did you have a conversation with Mitch about this incident between Kimmy and Jasmine's daughter?
Through text, yes.
Okay. And what was that conversation?
Can I read it? Is that-
Is there something that would refresh your memory?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I'm gonna, with the ex parte motion that you filed, refresh your memory to what was exactly said.
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. If I could provide her with a copy of this to refresh her memory. It's her 8/6/2020 motion regarding custody.
Go ahead.
If you could read that, see if that refreshes your memory. Does that help refresh your memory?
Yes.
So what was the text conversation, the crux of the text conversation that you had with Mitchell regarding this physical altercation?
I texted him that I witnessed it happen,
Witness what happened?
that Cooper punched Kimmy in the back of the head,
Cooper is,
Jasmine's son.
and how old is
I
Cooper?
think he's 5.
Okay. So what did you observe?
He closed-fisted punched our daughter in the back of the head, and she was sitting at the kitchen table, and she went to hit her head forward, and I had to place my hand on his table so she wouldn't hit her face on the glass.
How did that situation come to a conclusion?
Cooper got a timeout.
Did you have some concerns about this that you raised with Mitchell?
Yes,
And how did he respond to that?
just that his house is not safe.
So between the phone call, the text, now he's telling you his house isn't safe. What do you do then to protect your daughter?
I talked to him about possibly trying to get her to move out. She was only there
You're
for
talking
a
about
week.
Jasmine.
Yes,
This was his girlfriend at the time?
yes.
Okay. And what did he say about having Jasmine move out?
Well, for a couple of days, she was moving out. It was set in stone, going to move out.
How did he give you any timeline as far as when she would leave?
Wednesday.
And were you to keep Kimmy until she left?
No,
Well, how do you make sure? I mean, you get a call and a text, he's telling you that your daughter's not safe there. What are you gonna do to protect her?
I tried everything I could to be able to be open and talk to him about the steps that he needed to take for Jasmine to move out. He would not let me be able to have her.
Is that why you filed this?
I didn't understand that last statement by the witness.
I said that he did not allow me to have her during the 3 days.
Thank you.
So you were concerned that she was gonna be safe based on Mitchell's own statements?
Yes,
So is that why you filed this motion?
yes.
Now, what were some of those concerns? Were there other concerns besides the assault by his girlfriend's child and this early morning, late night phone call and text about not being a safe place for your daughter?
There were some other concerns when they were not living together. Our daughter had like a cut on her leg that he said was minor. And she came home with bites all over her face. And he didn't tell me where they came from, why they were there.
So the judge denied your ex parte request, and the court then set it for further hearing. Do you remember that part?
Yes.
What were you doing then to make sure that Kimmy was still, or that Kimmy was still safe with Jasmine in the house still?
I purchased her a cell phone.
What was your point of that?
She wanted something to where she could contact me whenever she felt unsafe.
Did you talk to Mitchell about this kind of safety plan with a cell phone before you gave it to her?
Before we had the issues with the court and I filed, we were joking about getting her a cell phone. I am a real estate agent. I work from my phone a lot. And when our daughter is on my phone, she will not let me know if I get calls or text messages.
Did you feel a little better having Kimmy have that ability to contact you?
Yes.
Was there any complaint by Mitchell that you provided that cell phone to her?
In the beginning, no.
Did you have any contact with this Jasmine person after you filed this ex parte motion?
Yes.
Do you remember when the first time would have been after?
Yes.
When was that?
I don't remember the first time she contacted me.
You know what, she
There's a lot.
She contacted you a lot.
Yes.
Okay. So, do you remember having some contact with her that resulted in some further court action?
Yes.
What happened? What happened and when?
Well, can we talk about CPS?
Yes, let's talk about CPS.
Okay, we'll talk about CPS. When she was texting me, telling me,
Can't say she, you gotta say.
Jasmine was messaging me on Facebook.
Okay, and you don't have to say what Jasmine was messaging you,
Okay.
but what happened as a result of those messages between you and Jasmine?
CPS was called.
How do you know that?
They showed up on my doorstep.
With this, is this around December 6th then, some months later?
That's correct.
Okay. And what happened?
CPS came and they had to interview me, my husband, do a welfare check, and speak to our daughter.
Do you have any idea why this occurred, or did you have any advance warning they were coming?
Yes.
What happened?
Jasmine texted me that she was going to call.
Hold on, Your Honor. I'm going to object as to hearsay. What Jasmine texted. That's an out-of-court statement. That's clearly hearsay that she's testifying to.
Not being offered for the truth of the matter. It's being offered for what happened next, essentially, the effect on the listener.
I'll allow it for that purpose.
So go ahead.
I lost my train of thought.
You had received a number of messages that are attached to the second ex parte motion that you had to file.
Yes.
Okay. Did CPS inform you what this investigation was about?
Sexual abuse.
By who?
By my husband,
And what's his name?
Andrew.
So what did CPS do about this?
Well, we had to schedule a time to sit at the Child Advocacy Center, and we had to have an implemented plan of safety.
Once you found out that a complaint had been made that your husband had sexually abused your daughter, Did you have any contact with Mitchell about that, where that possibly came from or what was going on?
I just texted him that he needed to talk to Jasmine, and he said he didn't want to,
I don't understand. He needs to talk to Jasmine about what?
just about the events that occurred that day.
So did CPS conduct an investigation?
Yes,
What action, if anything, did they take regarding your daughter?
none, the case is closed.
What was your understanding of what precipitated this investigation? I know you said that someone made a complaint.
Mhm.
Was it ever found out who made the complaint?
Yes,
Your Honor, I'm
Jasmine,
going to object. People who make CPS complaints, that's confidential.
It is confidential in the sense that Child Protective Services cannot disclose that. But if she learned from another source and it's not hearsay, I can allow that.
Sure, I agree, Your Honor, of course.
So do you know who made the complaint?
Jasmine,
How do you know that?
she sent it to me that she was going to call CPS.
And these are contained in
Facebook messages.
yes. Now, besides the fake book, which is too prophetic, besides the Facebook messages between Ms. McJames, Jasmine McJames, and you, did you have some text messages between you and Mitchell?
Yes,
What did you find out about Jasmine's living arrangements right after she makes this complaint that your husband sexually abused the child?
oh,
What did Mitch tell you about Jasmine staying there?
oh, that she was supposed to be moving out at the end of December with her ex-boyfriend.
Did you ever have any conversations with Mitchell about this allegation?
Wait a minute. I didn't understand that at all. She said that Jasmine was moving out with her ex-boyfriend. Was her ex-boyfriend living there?
No,
I think it was just where
So
she was
I didn't
going.
under- Let's ask the witness. I'd like it in her words, because it didn't make sense the way she said it.
okay,
Mitchell told you that Jasmine was moving out.
yes,
Do you know where she moved out to?
Lansing. That's all I know.
Now she doesn't. You mentioned moving in with an ex-boyfriend. Does that have anything to do with any of this?
No.
That's just
That's what their statement was.
whose statement was.
Mitchell's and Jasmine's.
They both told you,
Yes,
but Mitchell told you that Jasmine was moving out to her ex-boyfriends.
yes.
Does that make a little more sense now, Judge?
That makes sense.
Okay, thank you. So what did you do? I mean, you have Mitchell's girlfriend making a false allegation against you. What do you do now to protect yourself and to protect your child?
We just try to continue as we're doing, implementing the safety plan and following everything that we can.
How long was the safety plan in progress? Or how long did the CPS investigation go on where your husband was under suspicion?
I think about 2 weeks.
Now, at some point, you made a determination that your daughter needed some help, to be able to talk to somebody like a counselor.
Yes.
How did that come about?
Originally, it was because when we were first starting out with the ADHD diagnosis, one of the treatments is therapy and speaking to a counselor. And that was originally what started. And then in the summer of 2020 is when I actually reached out, and then everything with Jasmine came to light.
So did Jasmine start counseling before or after the time that Mitchell contacted you and said she wasn't safe?
Kimmy started counseling around that time.
Was it before or after?
Let's say after.
After, okay. There was some.
So after the early morning call, is that what you're referring to?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Who does she see? Counselor?
Dr. L. Hauser.
Okay. Did you talk to Mitchell about this counseling ahead of time?
Briefly,
Why?
just to inform him that she was going to see a counselor.
Did he object?
No,
And does she still see Mr. Hauser?
yes,
Do you know how many times she's seen Mr. Hauser at all?
10.
Okay. We'll get some testimony from Mr. Hauser. Now, you do this week on, week off. With your motion that you filed in August, what was that schedule like is when school started back up for you? What was your role and what was the schooling given COVID for Kimmy at that time?
We were originally enrolled in virtual schooling.
What was the decision making or what was the thought process besides virtual school?
Mostly, they were not allowing in-person schooling at the time.
But it sounds like you had a choice though.
Yes,
So they were allowing it.
yes.
So why did you decide to do virtual instead of in person?
I thought it'd be safer given the pandemic. And when I asked, I thought it'd be at least a good try.
Just to keep her away from exposed other kids,
Yes.
basically. Did you discuss that with Mitchell ahead of time?
No,
When did you let him know what your thought was as far as what Kimmy's schooling should be? You don't remember?
I don't remember.
At some point, you did have a conversation with him though?
Yes,
And what did Mitchell tell you about what his thought process was for Kimmy's school?
well, he wanted her to be back in person.
Did he tell you why?
No, he
He
just wanted her back in person.
With no real explanation why?
No,
So what decision did you make? If you share legal custody, you think it should have been virtual, he thinks in person, what did you do?
I put her back in person.
So what did that mean come September 1st or whenever school started? She just went to school regular, like there was never any COVID?
Yep. She has to wear a mask, but she goes.
What grade is she in?
3rd.
And how's she doing?
She's doing good.
What's been your role? Let me go backwards a little bit. What was your role last spring, about a year ago now, when the world came to a halt? I assume Kimmy was virtual then?
Yes, she was completely virtual, no in-person, nothing like that.
For what, like April, May, and June,
Yep.
roughly? What was your role then?
I made sure she did all of her schoolwork on virtual.
If you could assign a percentage to what you did virtual school-wise and what Mitchell's role was, do you know what those percentages would be?
Yes,
What would they be?
100% me and 0% Mitchell.
How do you know that?
I make sure her homework's completed.
No, but how do you know he's not working on it too?
My computer is the one with all the logins for all the virtual assignments and different courses.
Well, could you see like if she logged in from Mitchell's house?
Actually, yes, I can.
Were you able to see at all during this time from mid-March till the end of the school year? Could you tell if anybody had ever logged on or done any online homework with Kimmy besides you?
Yes.
Who did?
Well, I can see if someone did. No one else did but me.
Just you.
Just me.
Did you ever have any conversations with Mitchell about, hey, I'm doing all this online school, can you help us out? I mean, what was the arrangement then?
No, we did not have that conversation. He would drop her off and he would go to work.
You didn't have any understanding about it?
No,
So then you decide to go back in September to regular school. What's your role been as far as the homework from September till now?
I make sure her homework is completed every morning.
How do you do that?
When he drops her off in the morning, if she does have homework, we complete it before the bus comes.
So he drops Kimmy off to you even when he has her, he drops her off to you and you have her all day long?
That is correct.
So when he drops her off, does he drop her off clothed, bathed, homework done? I mean, when he drops her off, having had her that night before, how much of the homework and things are done then?
He does not drop her off ready to go for school.
When she drops her off, or when he drops her off, what do you have to do to get her ready for her day?
Well, I make sure she has her clothes set out and she still has to get dressed. I have to brush her hair, pack her water bottle, any of her schoolwork, pack her entire lunch, and anything that she has for the various activities throughout the day.
You've been the person that's always been responsible for that?
Yes.
Have you had any conversations with Mitchell saying, hey, you basically drop her off, rolled out of bed and I have to do everything. Can you pick it up a little bit?
No.
Why not?
I love being a mom.
Can you tell at all from the homework since she's gone back to real school, if there's been any involvement from Mitchell? Could you tell at all?
No.
What are your concerns at the house still with Mitchell based on the problems with Jasmine in August that resulted in an ex parte motion and then another one in December? What's your biggest concern about this?
I just don't feel like his house is a safe place.
Do you know if Jasmine lives there or not?
I don't know.
Has Mitchell offered to give you any kind of proof or something to kind of get rid of your concerns that you've had?
Nope.
Did you ever have any conversations that were at length after you got those rather bizarre Facebook messages from her?
Nope.
What do you think the court should do based on the actions that Mitchell has taken since, well, essentially August 6th?
I don't know. I think that's up to the court.
What do you think is in her best interest for a schedule?
I think I should have her most of the time.
Okay. What does that schedule look like?
Her sleeping at my house every night so I can get her up, get her on a schedule, get her ready for school on a daily basis.
What should Mitchell's schedule be then? What should he get for parenting time?
I don't think he should.
None? You don't think he should get any parenting time?
No.
Okay. You don't think there's anything that could be done to make sure that Kimmy's safe to have parenting time with her father?
Hmm. I don't.
Okay. That'd be all I'd have of this witness, Your Honor. Thank you.
Your Honor,
Cross-exam, Mr. Lugeri.
thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Ayers, the current schedule that the two of you are exercising, the two of you being you and Mitchell, how long has that been going on, the current schedule?
For over a year.
Okay. And before that, what was the schedule for the 5 years before that? It was 50-50, right?
Yes.
And at the start of COVID, you and Mitchell agreed that because Mitchell works as a mechanic and gets to work early before 7 o'clock, the two of you agreed that during the school day, Mitchell would drop off Kim to your house, and then he would pick her up at the end of the day, correct?
Yes.
And that's something the two of you agreed upon, correct?
Yes.
You were satisfied with that arrangement, correct?
Yes.
You were satisfied that it was in Kim's best interest, correct?
Yes.
But in the years prior, since you guys got divorced on October 31st of 2014, it's always been week on, week off or something to that effect, correct?
Yes.
And only because of COVID did you guys have this arrangement that you've had in place for a while now, correct?
Yes.
Let's go back in time to early this summer. You're a real estate agent, correct?
Yes.
Mitchell recently bought a house, I believe it's in Napoleon, is that correct?
Yes.
And you were his real estate agent, is that correct?
Yes.
Mitchell involved you in that transaction, correct?
Yes.
You made money as a result of that transaction, correct?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
You made money as a result of that transaction, correct?
Yes.
Now, without having to go through a whole bunch of text messages while that transaction was going on, is it a fair statement on my part that if I were to pull up all those text messages between you and Mitch before August of 2020, that before then, that the text messages that you and Mitch were exchanging were pleasant? Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
You guys were working well together. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
There wasn't any conflict between the two of you. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
In fact, there wasn't any conflict between you and Mitchell until probably July, really August of 2020. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, one of the things, and we have the text messages, but one of the things that came up is you were at Mitchell's new house on July 26th of 2020, correct?
Yes.
And while you were at the house, you claim that Cooper, Jasmine's then 4 or 5-year-old son, punched Kim, who's 8 years old, in the back of the head, correct?
Yes.
You did not report that incident to Mitch until sometime much later in August, about 2 weeks later. Is that correct?
You have to answer the question.
Yes.
Okay. And you didn't report that incident until after Mitch called you about his concern about Jasmine being in the home, correct?
Yes.
Mitch has never texted to you that his house is not safe. He's never used those words. Is that correct? I can go through the text if you want me to, but is that correct? He's never used those words, correct?
I guess we want,
Yeah, I'm confused.
I'm not sure my client understands. If you have this text, Nick,
Well, yeah, okay, Your Honor,
I'd like to see him.
if we could do a share screen, do I need permission to do that?
Yeah, you can share screen.
Okay, now let me get to the screen. Hold on.
Initial text.
I don't, okay, share. Make sure I get to the right ones. No, that's not the right one. Let me close that. Apologies, Your Honor. Okay, do you remember, can you see that on the screen? Have I done this correctly?
Yes.
Okay. This is part of a conversation where he asked you, why didn't you tell him about Kimmy? And you texted back, you were too busy cheating with the box lady. Then you have a smiley emoji. What do you mean? About Kim is no angel, but on Sunday she did absolutely nothing to deserve it. And then he responds, I know Kim didn't deserve Cooper can take stuff too far at times, but there are times when I watch her antagonize other children. When I say compromise, I mean like tonight, you wanted Kim to stay with you because you thought I wouldn't be able to protect her. I don't want, and then he texts you, I don't want you to think I'm sounding mean. I really, here it goes. I really don't, but Kim is not hurt. Young children have feuds, and it's up to the adults to help diffuse, punish, and address. Everyone I've ever dated with kids except one, Kim has issues with. I'm never going to find a single less woman. Kim is the only child. Feuds will happen. I just don't want you to trust me. I just want you to trust me that nothing unfixable would ever happen. Let me go to here. In any of these texts, you're familiar with these texts I'm showing you, right?
Yes.
Did he ever say his house was unsafe? Do you remember that?
Can I clarify or ask a question?
No, did he ever use the language that the house is unsafe
Yes.
in the text?
Yes.
Okay, find me a text that says that because I've been unable to find one. How do I stop sharing? Hold on. Yours. Oh, stop share.
Do you have the text messages? I searched it.
Pull up your phone. Let me see. Tell me when the text is.
What's the date on that?
I'm trying to make sure it's the right one. Nope.
You find it.
Okay. Yes, it is on August 2nd at 5:19.
Okay, you're
That is
saying
why we
August
work right
2nd?
now.
Go ahead and tell the court. What's the date?
August 2nd, 2020.
You got that one, Nick?
Yeah, hold on. How do I get the date on here, Mitchell?
I can't put the dates on. No, our dates on.
Is that what you need right there?
Okay, you're right.
Is that what I have?
Okay, so we're on August 2nd.
I think. Ask him.
Okay, okay. Do you have a text for 5:19 in the morning?
Yes. Is this the text to him where he writes to you, I know I care for Kim, to hell with everyone else. That's why we work right now for her. I'm not going to force her into a negative situation. And I'm sad to say, I have that right now. I'd rather it be me and Kim plus family. If Jasmine sticks around too long, I'm drinking the bathwater. But he doesn't say his house is unsafe, correct? You said in a text, he said his house was unsafe. There's no text that he ever says his house is unsafe, correct?
Just answer him.
I'm trying to think. I guess correct.
Thank you. Now, Mitch's parenting time. So you went to court. There were a number of texts from August 4th. So Mitchell called you. You said early in the morning, and he was concerned about Jasmine and her being around Kim, correct?
Correct.
And prior to, and I would be fair to say, in the last year, the two of you have been co-parenting well. Is that a fair statement? That's correct, right?
Yes.
And how about in the last 2 years? Is that a fair statement that the two of you have been co-parenting well?
Yes.
How about in the last 3 years?
Yes.
Okay, so when he called you and he expressed this concern, he was being open with you, correct?
Yes.
He was being honest with you, correct?
Yes.
And what you decided to do after he shared that information, although the child, Kim, was to return to Mitch on or about August 4th, you did not return Kim. You did not allow Mitch to pick up Kim. Is that correct?
Yes.
And in fact, on or about August 6th, you applied for an ex parte motion to suspend his parenting time. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the court denied that ex parte motion. Is that correct?
Yes.
And unfortunately, we've been in court over the years. It's been a number of years, many times, correct?
Yes.
And you know you have to follow court orders, correct?
Yes.
And though the court denied that court order, you withheld Kim from Mitch from August 4th to September 11th when we had a court hearing. Is that correct?
Yes.
For over a month. Is that correct?
Yes.
And when I calculated the days that Kimmy missed out with her dad, the overnights, that's 18 overnights. Is that correct?
Yes.
We had a hearing with the court on September 11th. Do you remember that hearing?
Yes.
And the court didn't restore, but entered an order that in part said that Jasmine wouldn't be left alone unsupervised with Kim. You remember that?
Yes.
Did I get an answer? Is that correct?
Yes, she said yes.
Okay, I just didn't hear it, Your Honor.
You froze for a second, Nick.
What's that?
You froze for a second there.
I'm back. Okay, so now parenting time resumed, and the last time we were in court on February 1st, we took testimony regarding the therapist. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And you indicated that you had told Mitch about Kim's maybe seeing a therapist at a parenting time exchange at 6:30 in the morning. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And that you said Mitch shrugged his shoulders. You didn't say yes or no, correct?
Correct.
And that would have been the only time you've ever would have discussed it with Mitch. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you testified earlier that you had contacted a therapist in the summertime. Is that correct?
Yes.
But when I look at the therapy notes from the child's therapist, it looks like the first visit was September 16th, 2020, 5 days after the court hearing. Is that correct?
Yes.
And when I look at those notes, did you talk, when Kimmy has a therapy session with the therapist, do you talk with the therapist before or after the session?
I've talked with the therapist after the session.
And do you talk to the therapist after each session?
No.
But you talked to the therapist prior to Kimmy's first session, correct? As to what therapy would be about?
Yes.
What did you tell the therapist why therapy was necessary?
ADHD and emotions.
Okay, anything else?
And custody.
Custody, that's right. You said, even though this was 5 days after our court hearing, the therapist note says mom is seeking to change the joint custody, correct?
Yes.
And you understand that joint custody requires you to make joint decisions whether or not Kim would see a therapist and what therapist Kim would see? You realize that, right?
Yes.
You realize that requires you guys to talk about schooling issues.
Yes.
You realize that requires you guys to talk about treatment issues,
Yes.
other medical treatment issues. So you went to a therapist 5 days after court, and one of the reasons that you gave for therapy was that you wanted to seek a change in custody.
Yes.
And today, your initial answer to Mitch having parenting time, although you guys have exercised equal parenting time for 6.5 years, is that you have no parenting time at all. That was your initial answer, correct?
Correct.
And do you know, have you ever given the therapist Mitch's contact information?
No.
Has the therapist ever asked you for Mitch's contact information?
No.
And you only take Kim to the therapist during your weeks?
Yes.
Have you ever given Mitch progress reports regarding therapy with Kim?
No.
You've never given him any progress reports?
No.
Have you ever asked Mitch, hey, can we sit down and talk to the therapist together? Have you ever done anything like that?
No.
Now, one of the things that came up in your testimony is, can you find that for me, Mitch? Is that CPS contacted you,
Yes.
correct? Is that correct?
Yes.
And do you recall having text messages with Mitch regarding the CPS contact regarding you and your husband, your current husband, Mr. Ayers?
Yes.
Okay. Was Mitch supportive of you when CPS contacted you?
I don't know.
Well, do you have your phone with you?
Yes.
Can you go to Tuesday, January 12th, 2021? Tell me when you're there at 1632.
Okay.
Can you read to me what Mitch texted you on that date? It's 1632.
CPS just called me and asked if I had any concern. I said no, and I told her that you're a good mom and wouldn't let anything happen. She said she will close the case. I know you had no concern over it, just letting you know.
So he was supportive of you, correct? Is that a fair statement on my part?
Yes.
He said you were a good mom. Did you ask him if CPS had contacted him, or did he do that spontaneously?
On his own.
On his own. And you don't know whether or not Jasmine is living with Mitch? You don't know that, right?
That is correct.
And Mitchell does all the transportation of Kim, correct? For parenting time. He drops
Yes.
off and picks up.
Yes.
How long's that been going on?
Since I moved into my house last year.
I don't know what month that was, so could you give us
February.
February? How far apart do the two of you live?
Like 5 minutes away.
So you live close?
Yes.
And Kim takes ADHD medication?
Yes.
Does she takes Adderall?
Yes.
Do you know how, does she take it daily?
Yes.
How many milligrams does she take a day?
10.
Do you divide it in half, or does she take it at one time?
It's a patch.
It's a patch? And do you provide those patches to Mitch?
No.
But you say she's doing well in school.
Yes.
Have you had any issues with Kim being less than honest with you at times?
No.
Can I just confer with my client for a moment?
Of course.
Ms. Ayers, was there a time where the ADHD medication changed?
Yes.
When was that?
I think it was about August.
Did you ever make Mr. Silvius aware of that?
I just told him that she's on a new medication.
Did you tell him what the medication was?
I don't think so.
Your Honor, I have no further questions at this time.
I have one, ma'am. This patch that she wears, how often is a new patch administered?
Oh, she gets a new one every single morning and it lasts for 9 hours. So she takes it off when she gets home.
So does she take it on weekends?
No,
So if she's at your house on the weekend, she doesn't take it? And
No.
if she's at Mitch's house on the weekend, she doesn't take it? And why is that?
oh, because she's on a diet where she has to have high protein, high calories, high carbs to help her gain weight. Sometimes the patches and Adderall can help her lose weight. So on the weekends, we don't give it to her so she can try and gain some of the weight back.
Does the patch help her with concentration issues at school?
Yes,
So that's less of a concern on the weekends.
that is correct.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Redirect, Mr. White.
Briefly, Your Honor. After essentially August 3rd, when you got these phone calls and messages from Mitch that Jasmine shouldn't be around Kimmy, did Jasmine move out right away?
No,
Did she move out in September?
nope,
Did you get any explanation from Mitch about why he would send you these messages and leave you a voicemail about your child's essentially not safe around Kimmy, but yet he doesn't have her move out in August, doesn't have her move out in September? Did you ever discuss it with him?
I've tried, but I've never gotten a clear answer.
When he had this first problem with Jasmine in August that came to your attention, did he make any indications about when Jasmine was going to be moving out then?
Wednesday, 3 days later.
So Mr. Silvius told you she was moving out on August 5th, 2020, right?
Yes,
And she didn't, did she?
no,
So she didn't move out in September, didn't move out October?
no,
How about November?
no.
And then when you got these text messages that are in our motion from Jasmine, do you know where she was living then?
No,
Was she still living with Mitch?
as far as I know, yes.
You didn't give Mr. Silvius any progress reports on her therapy. Why not?
It never came to my mind. I've always handled all of her medical, dental, everything.
Well, let's talk about that just for a second. You just said you've handled all that. What do you mean by you've handled it all?
I've set up every single appointment she's ever had. I've made sure she's had health insurance and made sure that if there was anything that was a necessity, that it was taken care of.
Has Mr. Silvius been involved in the medical treatment decision-making or scheduling in any way, shape, or form?
No,
So this was just a continuation of you always taking charge?
yeah,
Okay. Do you have any idea? Well, we know that despite the promise that Jasmine would be moved out on August 5th, do you have any idea where she lives now?
no,
Does Mr. Silvius have a child with her?
I believe so.
Okay. That's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you.
Just a quick follow-up. Are you saying that there's a text message that he indicated that she was going to move out on August 5th? Is that what you're testifying to?
Yes.
Hey, can you find it for me? Ma'am, my question is there,
Verifying.
Yeah, she can show you the text. Go ahead and answer his question. What's the date, time, and what's the exact word of the text message?
August 3rd at 2:41 p.m. I sent Mitch a text. Is she still moving out on Wednesday then? His response, that's the plan, but what if something happens and she can't?
and then later on, he updated you after that saying you're not going to like this. She can't move out yet because essentially she doesn't have a place to go. Is that a fair statement on my part?
Let me check real quick.
I'll tell you when it was. Hold on. Can you find that for me, man?
Oh, I found it. Can I read it?
Sure, go ahead, read it.
It is on August 5th, 7:02. You aren't going to like this, but she asked to wait to move out until her ex gets out so that she can rent his basement.
Okay. So he kept you updated, correct?
Yes.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
I just have one. He updates you once that says she's waiting. Did you get another update between then and December when apparently she might have moved out? Did you get other updates from Mitch at all that she's, she's waiting for next week or her ex-boyfriend will be out? Any other updates?
No.
So one time in August, and then he never tells you again where she's living?
No.
Okay, thank you.
I have no further questions for this witness, Your Honor, at this time.
Oh,
Thank you. Any further witnesses? Mr. White?
Mr. Hauser, the child's therapist.
Your Honor, if I know it's only 9:38, but is it okay if we took a 5-minute break?
Sure.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'll leave the meeting room open, but we'll go off the record.